The battery of my old electric bike, which I'd ridden for 3 years, got stolen. I spent 3 days and nights cursing the thief on my social media. To my surprise, my neighbor Evelyn stopped me downstairs and in front of everyone suddenly dropped to her knees with a thud. She begged me, saying, "I was the one who stole your electric bike. I accidentally caused it to explode while charging at home, and now my whole family is in a hospital. I need the invoice for your bike. Can you give it to me and save my family?" I sneered, "Nice, try hand over the invoice, then pin the blame on me and make me pay with my life, huh?" When I discovered my e-bike battery was stolen, my mind went completely blank. Are you kidding me, folks? I just went home for a quick nap during lunch break, and now I can't even make it to the office in the afternoon. Clutching at the last shreds of professionalism, I took half a day off and stormed straight to the property management office, demanding they check the surveillance footage. Sure, my bike is old, but I bought it with my first paycheck during my debut working year. The sentimental value is priceless. I can't just let this go. When I barged in frantic with worry, it was just after the lunch break. The woman who had been napping in her chair covered with a coat was startled awake with disheveled hair and a sour expression. She glared at me. All right, what else with the surveillance check? Seeing my dark expression fixed on her, she quickly changed her tune that said there have been a lot of stolen batteries in the neighborhood. Lately, we posted about it in the group chat and put up notices in the bike shed warning residents to be careful, warning residents to be careful. We said it 1,000 times. Didn't you notice? I laughed in frustration. Notice what, instead of either calling the police to catch the thieves or upgrading the surveillance system, your property management just slaps up a notice and thinks that LL stop battery theft. And then you shift all the blame onto the residents. So what you're saying is I should carry my bike, no, my battery up to the 5th floor and lock in the safe. Is that it? The woman was so angry she couldn't get a word out, choking on her own rage. She pointed at the computer. "You go check your footage, don't talk to me." When it comes to the property management staff in our neighborhood, they're the type who wield a chicken feather as if it were Commander's arrow. They're always giving homeowners a hard time, never around when you need them, but magically appear the moment it's time to collect various fees. Garden maintenance fees, neighborhood cleaning fees, express delivery late fees, parking fees for non-residents. If you can imagine it, they dare to charge for it. Yet in this supposedly upscale neighborhood, my electric bike's battery vanished in thin air during just a lunch break. In broad daylight, no less. Normally, I'd have given her a piece of my mind, but right now I'm too worried about my electric bike to bother with her. I rushed to the computer and adjusted the surveillance footage to the exact time I appeared on screen. December 10th, noon. I had just gotten off work then with only a 10-minute commute from the office to my place and not needing to return until 3 p.m. How could I not hurry back to lie down for a bit? Fortunately, the surveillance did capture footage of me parking and getting off the bike, as well as the appearance of my electric scooter. But misfortune followed closely. Due to weathering and varying degrees of aging, the camera's original coverage angle had long since shifted. It should have captured the entire scooter, but now only the front handlebars and basket were visible. To make matters worse, the battery compartment was completely obscured by the windproof cover, allowing the battery thief to hide beneath it, calmly unloading his loot. With his steady and practiced demeanor, anyone who didn't know better would think he was the car owner fixing his own vehicle. My anger flared up, and the woman beside me leaned in, adding a touch of schadenfreude. That camera sure knows how to capture the moment. I shot her a glare and carefully examined the footage frame by frame. Sure enough, in the area not covered by the windshield cover, I spotted a tuft of white hair. I pulled out my phone and snapped photos, trying to preserve the evidence. As I clicked away, a thought crossed my mind. White hair, white fur. Could it have been those 13 or 14-year-old delinquents hanging around the streets? But there are so many of those good-for-nothing thieves loitering everywhere. Where on earth should I even start looking for them? The investigation led nowhere. It was just a small battery worth less than $1,000, not even enough to file a case. The police station would bother with it. So I had no choice but to swallow my frustration. Serves me right for getting robbed. With the battery stolen, I didn't want to ride and be reminded of the incident. So I sold the empty shell of the e-bike at a low price and started commuting by shared bike instead. Saving money while getting exercise, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. 2, of course, I couldn't just let the theft slide. I ranted about the battery thief on my social media for 3 whole days. Just when I thought the matter was over, a month later, as I was heading out early to find a bike for my morning commute, an elderly woman with graying hair stopped me right outside my building. It was rush hour with everyone hurrying past, so when she suddenly grabbed my arm, I frowned and asked, "Can I help you?" She looked exhausted, her eyes rimmed red, and seeing my bewildered expression, she gritted her teeth and suddenly knelt before me in front of everyone. My drowsiness vanished in an instant, startling those around me as well. Flustered, I reached out to help her up. "Annie, what's wrong?" But her tearful, dramatic performance that followed made me freeze mid-motion. 3, she held on to me with one hand while pounding the ground with the other, looking exactly like those old women in rural soap operas who throw themselves on the ground wailing and making a scene. Tears streaming down her face, she sobbed incoherently, "Young man, it's my fault. I live in the building next to yours, usually make a living collecting scrap that day. After picking through the trash in your unit, I got greedy and took your battery home planning to use it myself. But just a few days later, while charging at home, your battery suddenly exploded because of quality issues. It seriously injured both my son and my husband. It took me great effort to understand. Turns out she was trying to pin the blame on me. Seeing my reaction, she suddenly choked back her sobs and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. I didn't come and make you take responsibility. I just want you to give me the receipt from when you bought the electric bike. After all, this was your battery's fault. Right, look, I'll take it up with the manufacturer. This was my mistake. You're a victim too. How could I possibly come after you? She kept emphasizing the words your battery with heavy stress, giving me a strange, uneasy feeling. I felt my heart soften as I looked at her, just about to agree when I noticed some neighbors who had gathered to watch, some who knew me, subtly shaking their heads at me. Calming down, I thought it through carefully. It made sense if the scooter was stolen. So be it if I took responsibility for this, and she ended up demanding compensation or holding me accountable later, I'd be in real trouble. Instinctively, I waved my hands in refusal. Annie, you've got the wrong person. I don't own an electric scooter. I ride shared bikes too, and from work. As I spoke, I shook my phone, the bright blue interface glaring back at me. Hearing my words, she froze in shock. Pointing at me with wide eyes, she stammered, how could you? Ignoring her, I dashed straight to the nearest blue bike, scanned to unlock it, and pedaled away. On the way, I casually texted today's incident to my childhood friend, asking for his opinion. Are you stupid? Did you really consider giving her the receipt to contact the manufacturer? You should thank the guy who shook his head at you. If you'd agreed to give her the receipt, you'd be digging your own grave. As my friend explained the situation in detail, the more I listened, the more horrified I became. It turns out this aunt wasn't as kind-hearted as she claimed. The explosion was ultimately caused by her own wrongful actions and had absolutely nothing to do with the manufacturer. Once she gets the invoice, the only thing it can prove is that the battery belongs to me, nothing else. In other words, her purpose in obtaining the invoice is to pin this incident on me, so she can sue me openly and make me pay compensation. Since the incident has already happened, someone has to bear the consequences. Indeed, those closely involved cannot see as clearly as those outside. After hearing my childhood friend's deduction, I was absolutely furious. How dare that thief try to frame me so brazenly? To those who know, she's the one who stole from me. But to outsiders, it must look like I murdered her entire family. I thought she'd give up after I rejected her, but the next day at the same time and place, she was still lying in wait like a farmer waiting by a tree stump for rabbits. She knelt down and grabbed me. Young man, have mercy on me. My son has cerebral palsy. My husband is a sanitation worker, and our family survives on what I make collecting scrap paper. Now, they're both hospitalized, and I can't afford the medical bills. Any moment the hospital will stop their treatment and kick them out. She cried and wailed, drawing a large crowd of onlookers, many of whom, unaware of the truth, pointed fingers at me. That's right, young man. Be merciful. Where mercy is due, she has already admitted her mistake. Just give her the receipt. Don't say that if you feel sorry for thieves. Why don't you try losing something yourself? Haha, if you ask me, this is just karma for her. Everyone was talking over each other, and though the Annie's face kept shifting between green and red with anger, she never let go of my hand. Just then a woman's voice rang out from the crowd. Oh, ISNT. This, Evelyn, what the packages in your own building's hallway weren't enough to steal. So now you've switched to swiping people's batteries. The auntie instantly dropped her earlier flustered expression, jumped up from the ground, and pushed through the crowd to charge forward. Let me see which little bitch is spewing nonsense. Didn't your mother teach you to respect your elders and care for the young? The auntie and the other woman started grappling with each other, and the scene quickly descended into chaos. I took advantage of the confusion to slip away. The next day, the day after, and the day after that, every single day after, she stopped me in the same way, desperately forcing me to hand over the invoice, demanding another life for her family. The more she pestered me like this, the more terrified I became. After I firmly refused her for the last time, she immediately turned hostile and called 110 on the spot, claiming it was to let the police punish a heartless person like me. Fine, let them come. After all these years, I've never seen a thief cry stop thief before. Before long, the police arrived. One was older, the other younger. When the two arrived, Evelyn had already knelt until she was tired and was sitting on the ground, so I followed her example and plopped down on the floor as well. The officer frowned at us. Why are you sitting on the ground? All right, tell me what happened. Before I could speak, the old woman scurried forward on her knees to the officer's feet, moving more nimbly than I could. Officer, you must stand up for us garbage-picking old ladies. This man bullied me right in my own home. He is absolutely shameless. As soon as she finished speaking, the younger officer rushed to help her up while shooting me a glare sharp enough to cut. I crossed my arms and watched disdainfully to see what trick she could pull. Fine, so the villain strikes first with accusations, huh? The police officers helped her up together. It's all right, Annie, tell us what happened. We want to favor any wrongdoer. She sobbed and sniffled. This old woman has it hard, nearing 70 years old and still collecting cardboard every day To earn money, my son's brain damaged my husband's useless. She kept sobbing for ages without getting to the point, instead endlessly playing the victim. The officer's expression changed as he looked at her. So what happened to you? Choking back tears, she said, a few days ago while I was charging my e-bike, the battery suddenly exploded. It severely injured both of them. I came to ask this young man for the receipt, but he refused to give it to me. You see, he must be in cahoots with those unscrupulous merchants, isn't that right? The officer was baffled, completely confused by her words. Wait, what do you mean your e-bike's battery exploded while charging at home? What does that have to do with him? A voice came from the crowd. Look here, this old lady stole someone's battery, and now that something's happened, she's coming after them. Isn't this the pot calling the kettle black? Evelyn glared at the crowd and immediately fell silent, lowering her head and fidgeting with her fingers. The old policeman, probably used to this sort of thing, looked at me with sympathy in his eyes. Tell me what is going on. I faced him calmly. It's true, my bike was stolen. I checked the surveillance footage and searched for it, but so far there's no evidence, and the thief hasn't been found. She's making these claims that it was my battery she stole. Where her proof is my name written on the battery. Otherwise, I have every reason to suspect she's targeting me as an easy mark, because she can't afford to pay Annie Young with so many bikes stolen around here. Why are you so determined to pin it on me? I spoke while putting on a heartbroken expression, leaving Evelyn staring at me in shock, speechless. Eventually, after much persuasion from the police mediating the situation, I wasn't held responsible for the matter, and she temporarily gave up on demanding the receipt from me. Just when it seemed the issue was settled, who could have guessed that as the police were about to leave, she suddenly grabbed one of them. Her face flushed with frustration as she stammered, you want let me ask him for money. Fine, I agreed. But what about my family's money? I don't have any to pay for their medical treatment. Doesn't your slogan say the people's police? Sir, the people don't just talk the talk, we're the people to the people in need. So, if that is the case, you officers should rally everyone to donate to me. Otherwise, you're just aiding evil forces to oppress ordinary citizens. I'll report you for this. The young officer froze. He'd never encountered someone so utterly unreasonable. The older policeman patiently admonished, comrade, you can't behave like this to citizens. Just pointed out you're strongly suspected of stealing that electric battery. If they find evidence, they can sue you. Moreover, we've repeatedly emphasized that charging indoors is absolutely unacceptable. You're bringing this trouble entirely upon yourself. Evelyn grew frantic as the officers tried to leave. She physically restrained them, tugging violently until she tore a button clean off the young policeman's uniform, exposing the black undershirt beneath. During the struggle, the young officer's cap tilted askew, his expression darkened. Completely, you're about my grandmother's age. I want to lay hands on you, but you can't exploit your seniority. Either let go now, or I'll charge you with assaulting an officer. Evelyn was certain they wouldn't dare harm her, and even began bantering with the police officers. I don't care if you don't get the community and police station to donate for my family's medical treatment today. None of you are leaving. As she spoke, her physical actions grew more aggressive. The veteran officer remained silent, but quietly pulled out pepper spray from his coat, shouting at her. I said, let go. Do you know the consequences of assaulting an officer? Push him one more time and try me. I'm legally authorized to spray you with this. At his words, the surrounding crowd suddenly scattered, including me. God knows pepper spray is no joke, not to mention the burning pain when it gets on your face and eyes. Even spraying it on clothes can make you feel utterly miserable. Though the old woman was foolish, she still feared such physical suffering and decisively let go. The two police officers exchanged a glance and left. I looked at her, my heart blooming with joy. She had lost this battle and lost it utterly. Not only was her reputation as a thief confirmed, but her delusional attempt to pin the medical expenses on me was also exposed. The public's eyes are sharp, and even the property manager, who had initially clashed with me, now looked at this troublemaking woman with undisguised contempt. After the police left, everyone whispered as they stared at the old lady standing center stage. How could our neighborhood have someone like this? What kind of mess is this? Never seen such bad luck. Car gets stolen, and the thief gets their comeuppance, but still comes after the victim. Lady, instead of throwing a tantrum, you'd better hurry up and start a crowdfunding campaign. Learn your lesson. Keep your hands clean next time. Don't be such an Evelyn. Perhaps my gaze was too obvious. Even she could see the schadenfreude in my eyes. At the center of everyone's scorn, Evelyn glared at me, viciously laughed. All you want, let us see how long that lasts. If the battery is a curse, then you're a walking disaster. Taking your battery was my damn karma. Just you wait. With that, she shoved through the crowd and limped away. I thought that would be the end of it. Turns out I was being naive. No, I had underestimated her. After that day, all sorts of garbage and filth would inexplicably appear at my doorstep, including, but not limited to, household waste, kitchen and bathroom, trash, medical waste, construction materials. Even the handrail of the security door would occasionally be smeared with disgusting phlegm stains. At first, I thought it was accidental, but as the targeted actions against me continued one after another, it suddenly dawned on me this was Evelyn's revenge. Seeing that I refused to help and wouldn't give her the chance to extort me, she resorted to such underhanded and malicious tricks. This old woman is something else with her family members hospitalized. She actually had the spare time and energy to come after me. I secretly installed a video doorbell and recorded every move she made at my doorstep, then brazenly posted the footage in the group chat, even tagging the property management. Someone immediately recognized the figure in the surveillance footage as that old woman who's been giving me trouble, and everyone openly denounced her in the group. A nurse sister also chimed in. No wonder her family hasn't been around to deal with her for so long. Turns out the old lady has set her sights on you. I straightened up, sis, what's the story? The eldest sister sighed and began recounting the whole incident. Their family couldn't afford medical treatment. When the hospital pressed for payment, the old woman simply stopped coming, abandoning her disabled son and husband there, though the hospital had discontinued treatment since the patients hadn't actually died, yet they couldn't just throw them out in front of everyone. So the two were left occupying hospital beds, clinging to life by a thread. This made the old woman even more at ease. My sister said the last time she'd seen her at the hospital was 5 days ago. 5 days now. I really wonder if those two critically ill patients might starve to death. As soon as the eldest sister finished speaking, even more people in the group started cursing at her. The cursing escalated to a fever pitch, but Evelyn, the main subject of all this, seemed to have given up entirely. She actually left the neighborhood group chat. I couldn't help but laugh. Looks like this time she's determined to ignore the public outrage and fight me to the end. From then on, every time she threw trash or spat at my doorstep, I would directly call the police. Back and forth, the police became regular mediators in the conflicts between Evelyn and me. During their last visit, the officer sighed and advised me, though not explicitly, that such minor disputes might not warrant police intervention, and perhaps I should try resolving them myself. After all this commotion, coupled with the officer as half advice, half warning, Evelyn finally stopped targeting my front door. But she started reverting to her old sticky-fingered ways again. I hate cooking and basically never make meals at home. When I'm truly starving, I order takeout. When I discover my food had been stolen for the third time, I immediately suspected that old woman. When I caught her red-handed at my doorstep, she was still clutching the century egg and lean pork congee with pancakes I'd just ordered. Hey, I shouted, what do you think you're doing, stealing people's food again? Haven T, you learned your lesson for last time. Evelyn, with her half-gray hair, started yelling back at me, what proof do you have that this is yours? Is your name written on it? This is the congee I ordered for my husband and son. Some neighbors nearby even poked their heads out to watch the commotion. I roll my eyes dramatically. At your age, can't you watch your mouth? Do you even know how to order takeout? Do you know which colored app to open, how to pick a restaurant, or pay? You want proof? Look down at the receipt, ISNT, that my name and phone number, and honestly, your husband and son must have it rough sharing one bowl of congee. If you're that broke, just go beg on the streets. Everyone burst out laughing. The old woman snatched the receipt and stuffed it in her pocket, scowling. As she turned to leave, I listen to your nonsense. This is my food, and that final, keep running your mouth. Keep it up, and I'll tear it right off your face. She leapt up angrily, and I took half a step back, but instead of tearing my mouth, she nimbly slipped away down the stairs beside me, showing no sign of being nearly 70. Watching her retreating figure, it dawned on me she had long since switched tracks from stealing batteries to swiping takeout. To get back at her, I came up with a bizarre plan. I ordered takeout again, but this time I intercepted the delivery guy outside the restaurant. After tapping order delivered, he asked curiously, bro, if you're picking it up yourself, why even order delivery? I watched the fluttering receipt before me and smiled with narrowed eyes. No, you don't understand. I went to the nearest Chinese medicine shop and bought half a kilo of croton seeds, had them ground into powder, and added it to the 8 treasure porridge I ordered. Then I casually picked up a twig from the ground and gave a stir. Now it was completely undetectable. After finishing everything, I carefully avoided the surveillance cameras and circled back, placing the takeout inconspicuously at the doorstep before closing the door. Sure enough, before long, a suspicious figure appeared at the doorbell, perhaps afraid I'd catch her red-handed again. This time, she didn't hesitate. She grabbed the takeout and bolted. In my haste to leave, I tripped and nearly sent the fruits of my hard labor flying. I was at home clutching my phone and laughing heartily. It was 3 days before I saw Evelyn again. During those 3 days, I finally had a proper hot meal, and my takeout never went missing again, further convincing me that I was the protagonist of the takeout incident. That night, I had just taken a shower and was lying at home playing games when suddenly there came urgent knocking at the door. Looks like the god of plague has arrived. I closed my Candy Crush game and immediately opened the door. Seeing Evelyn standing pale-faced at my doorstep, flanked by 2 property management staff and 2 police officers, I understood this time she'd called the cops on me. Honestly, always so quick to dial the police. They're law enforcement officers, not her personal security guards. The old woman pointed at my nose and launched into a tirade. It's him. He has got a grudge against me. He poisoned my food delivery to make me sick. I didn't just get diarrhea in my mouth and stomach hurt. 2 officer I checked. And what he did counts as poisoning I'm only fine because I'm tough. If someone else had eaten it, who knows what could be happened. The two officers who arrived were unfamiliar faces, likely unaware of our history, or Evelyn's character. They eyed me like a suspect. Explain yourself, or we'll treat this as poisoning your young. Why waste your life like this? I immediately put on an innocent expression, raising both hands. I'm completely innocent, officers. Come to think of it, I don't understand why the old lady from a different building would take the food delivery left at my doorstep. If it was a mistake, wouldn't she'd be able to tell the difference between her own building and someone else's? I smiled innocently. Also, did you hear what she just said? Could you explain to me what she meant by I poisoned her in my own food delivery? The police exchanged glances, probably realizing what was going on. It was just a habitual food thief getting caught by the owner, and this thief even had the nerve to demand compensation. I opened a food delivery app and said, "Here, my order from earlier," since Evelyn claims she placed it. Can she show us her phone order? I looked at her under everyone's gaze. She seemed flustered and started babbling. I don't have a phone. The surrounding neighbors burst into laughter. Who can order takeout without a phone these days? Did she place the order in her dreams? Damn, hit a steel plate. This kid's got guts. Sorry, Granny Chan. Looks like nobody's gonna take your side now. Their words floated over like bullet comments, drifting into my ears and nearly making me burst out laughing. She gritted her teeth. Fine, I admit I was starving and had no choice but to steal your food, but is that any reason to poison me? Do you have any idea? I was in agony. 3 days of diarrhea, 3 whole days. If I hadn't gotten 4 fluids at the clinic, you wouldn't be seeing me right now. It's best if we never meet again, as if anyone wants to see you. I rolled my eyes secretly and pretended to be concerned. Are you okay? Actually, this is all my fault. I've been constipated for so long that I had no choice but to ask my dad to buy me some laxatives to mix into the porridge. As for why I was outside, I blinked innocently. I want to let it cool before drinking it. Is that wrong? I knew that although my explanation was full of holes, the police could tell the difference between sarcasm and sincerity, and wouldn't give me too much trouble. Sure enough, Evelyn had no choice but to swallow this bitter pill in silence. Under the police's careful education of me, she didn't manage to extort a single penny, coming in disgrace and leaving in even greater disgrace. As she left, she clutched her stomach tightly. With a loud farting sound, she ran even faster, even leaving the 2 police officers behind. That said, I was being kind by giving her croton seeds. If she had encountered a truly wicked person and been fed rat poison, she would died for nothing. 9 after this incident, our lives became much more peaceful. Sometimes when I'm bored, I still wonder, did her family get the treatment they needed? What will she do? Could she really rely on collecting cardboard scraps to scrape together that exorbitant surgery fee? But I only ever think about it. If the neighborhood actually organized a donation drive for such terrible neighbors, I'd probably just spit at the donation box. Not hitting, it would already be my greatest mercy. That day, the chatty woman in the property group spoke up again, shocked, as she shared with us Evelyn's husband and son had resumed their treatments. A woman had come to cover the cost for her, and she even paid a hefty sum in advance. We looked at each other in shock. Was there more to this story, and who was this woman? Just a few days later, I met this woman. While brushing my teeth one morning, I routinely checked the doorbell camera and unexpectedly spotted the figure of a young woman standing at my video doorbell. I could vaguely make out that she was somewhat attractive. After spitting out the toothpaste, I opened the door. "You are." She seemed startled by me. "You, how did you know someone was outside?" I leaned out and pointed at the doorbell video feed, half a surveillance system. She exhaled in relief, but quickly tensed up again, too nervous to know what to do. So I just leaned against the door and waited for her to speak. After what felt like forever, just as I was about to lose my patience, she lowered her head and began fidgeting with her fingers. "I came to apologize on behalf of my mom." I stared blankly at your mom. She nodded. "The property management told me everything. I came straight to your place after getting back from the hospital. My mom was in the wrong, yet she dared to keep causing trouble for you. I'm really sorry." I waved my hand. "Wait, hold on. You're saying that Evelyn is your mom, but she claims she only had a son with cerebral palsy." The girl sighed and leaned against the security window as she began telling me her story. As it turned out, she was indeed Evelyn's child, and so was that son with cerebral palsy. Technically her older brother. The problem was Evelyn had a terrible flaw. She favored sons over daughters. The girl endured endless grievances and torment during her childhood with no one to confide, and she finally ran away from home at 15 to find work. In all these years since her disappearance, her family never searched for her. The only reason they sought her out recently was because trouble had struck at home. It wasn't until she returned that she learned her brother had suffered a mental breakdown in his 20s after being scammed into a sham marriage and losing all his money. Even his only son turned out to be raising another man's child. The shock had driven him to madness. The girl pondered for a moment. To be precise, my brother's condition, ISNT, cerebral palsy, it's intellectual disability. I nodded in understanding. To lay people like us, these conditions all seemed roughly the same. She gave a bitter laugh. She'd been away from home for so many years and wanted nothing to do with family matters, but her mother Evelyn had somehow tracked down her workplace, an address showing up to make a scene below the building. She unfurled banners accusing her daughter of being an unfilial child who abandoned her father and brother in their time of need. The girl was kind-natured and inarticulate. Despite her repeated explanations, the company refused to believe her. Left with no choice, she resigned under her mother's coercion. She went to the hospital, paid for both of them, and supported her mother. As she spoke, 2 clear tears streamed down her face. Do you know what my mother said? She told me something I'll remember for the rest of my life, that no matter where I run, she'll always be my mother by blood. She can cling to me forever. She is like a snake, coiling tighter and tighter around me, sucking everything I have. I looked at her with sympathy, having dealt with her mother before I knew exactly what a bizarre character she was. Yet there wasn't much I could say. Seeing her dejected apology, I could only solemnly reassure her, don't worry, girl, you'll find your own path. Everyone is independent from the moment you were born. You've had your own life. You're no longer anyone's appendage. I borrowed a line I'd heard on TV and gave it to her. You were born to be a mountain, not a creek. You gaze upon the peaks. What was the rest? The girl laughed through her tears. I was born to be a mountain, not a creek. I aspire to stand atop the peaks and look down upon the mediocre valleys. I was born to be outstanding, not insignificant. I stand upon the shoulders of giants and scorn the cowardly weaklings. I chuckled. You're really impressive. Did you go to college? She nodded. Yes, I studied for it. While working now, I'm a PhD. A PhD, damn, that's impressive. The girl apologized to me repeatedly and even offered to transfer money for me to buy a new electric bike. Electric bike? Oh, right, I almost forgot. I waved my hand dismissively. What electric bike? I stopped riding those long ago. Regular bicycles are much better, helps with weight loss and exercises for payment. Don't bother to be blunt. Stealing batteries and getting seriously injured has already taught her a bitter lesson. Your mother might be terrible, but you're a good girl who has had it tough. Let us just leave it at that. She nodded with a smile and delivered that classic line, you're such a good person. I recoiled in mock horror, stepping back, repeatedly. Whoa, there, am I getting the nice guy card already? We burst into laughter together. As we were leaving, the girl told me that once her father and brother were discharged from the hospital and returned, they planned to move away. The house here was also rented due to Evelyn's character issues. Different people would complain about her every day for various reasons. The property management had no choice but to notify the landlord. The landlord immediately made the decision not to rent the house to such a person anymore. Otherwise, it would just be a waste of his property. The girl thought for a moment and said, I want to go back to my hometown. We're from the village of Jiaodong. Maybe only by going back can my mother avoid conflicts with the neighbors. When she really wants to throw a tantrum, she might think twice, because in the village there is a whole group of old ladies who won't back down from anyone. I gave a hum of agreement. This is what they call. The girl finished my sentence, a dog eat dog world. Sure enough, after the girl left, I never saw Evelyn causing trouble again. Occasionally, I'd run into her and the girl downstairs, but they would just brush past me in a hurry as if we were complete strangers. That is fine too. Let us just pretend nothing ever happened. After some time had passed, the girl sent me a message saying her father and brother had been discharged from the hospital and her family was moving away. Though her mother was extremely reluctant, not wanting to return to rural life without proper toilets or showers, the girl had now become the family's pillar with all major and minor decisions falling to her. The mother had no choice but to comply and return to the countryside. The notorious neighbor who had caused such an uproar finally moved out after discussing it in the homeowners group. Chat. A few of us who had suffered under Evelyn's reign banded together on the day the moving truck came for her. We chased after it with firecrackers, setting them off in celebration as she finally left our neighborhood. The other neighbors who had previously adhered to the principle of less trouble is better and dare to be angry, but not speak out, all applauded and cheered. Evelyn was furious, but with her husband and son still in the car, she couldn't very well jump out and fight us, so she could only silently stew in her anger. In contrast, the girl leaned out of the car window to look at us, still smiling. 11 after Evelyn's family moved away, I never interacted with the girl again. To be honest, we were from 2 different worlds after all. We reconnected half a year later when the girl sent me just one message, bro, my entire family is dead. I'm the only one left. At that moment, I was at work, casually picking up my phone to slack off for a bit, and I was completely stunned. My breath even stopped for a few seconds. To be honest, along with a flicker of joy in my heart came overwhelming shock and disbelief. 3 lives just gone like that. What happened not long after I sent this, she forwarded me a surveillance video, apparently from a camera installed by their neighbors. Jiaodong village wasn't the impoverished backwater I had imagined, but rather a seemingly well-off community. At the very least, the neighbor's house was a 2-story building with white bricks and red tiles. The video clearly captured Evelyn sneaking up to cut off a pot of vegetable leaves placed on the neighbor's wall, then brazenly carrying them away. Beyond the schadenfreude in the girl's voice message, I faintly detected a hint of relief after surviving a close call. If only that were really the case. Actually, it's like this. As she recounted the story, I gradually understood. It turned out Evelyn had never shaken off her thieving habits, whether in the city or after returning to the countryside. The neighbor kept a pot of exceptionally vibrant daffodils, their leaves so lush they spilled over the wall and drooped right above her doorstep. To Evelyn, the top of the wall was their 38th parallel. Anything that crossed over that boundary instantly became hers, whether it was leaves, flowers, or even the sun rising and setting. She was so possessive that she'd have gladly thrown a cover over the other side just to stop them from soaking up her sunlight. But her lack of education led to an unprecedented blunder. She mistook daffodil leaf for chives and snipped them all off. The perfectly healthy daffodils ended up looking like chopped garlic cloves. Afraid of being caught, Evelyn rushed back home, wrapped dumplings, and covered up the crime scene. She made over 40 chive and pork dumplings for her son and husband. Not only did she refuse to eat any herself, but she also forbade the girl from having any, claiming that once this stuff goes into your belly, it just turns to waste. What a shame. The girl chuckled bitterly back. Then I argued with her, doesn't everything turn to waste in anyone? As belly looking back now, I really should thank her for giving me a second life. If it weren't for her, I might kick the bucket too. I kept listening. Shortly after consuming the narcissus leaves, the two patients succumbed to the poison. The toxin spread exceptionally fast, and given their already weakened state, it ravaged their bodies unchecked. Before they could even dial 120, their lips had turned purple, and they stopped breathing. Evelyn went mad with grief. She couldn't comprehend how her usual habit of cutting corners had led to the deaths of her husband and son. After the town's funeral home vehicle took the bodies away, Evelyn returned home to find the leftover meat filling she prepared for next time, as dumplings, though slightly contaminated, her ingrained frugality made her reluctant to waste it. Gritting her teeth, she fed it all to the chickens in the coop. Well, now even the chickens have died in a circle. Could be those teenage hoodlums hanging around the streets who did this. Me damn isn't this just like a modern day Breaking Bad. Now the village gossip has gotten even worse. Everyone's saying she's a poisonous woman who first killed her bedridden husband, barely clinging to life, and her mentally disabled son, then went and poisoned all the chickens in her yard. Next step, are you going to poison the entire village? The village chief was also terrified. He never expected that by allowing their family to return, he had welcomed a harbinger of disaster. Evelyn, clearly unable to bear the blow of her loved one's deaths, and the village's malicious gossip, still had the girl by her side. But in her eyes, how could this worthless burden compare to her own foolish son and husband? And so one afternoon, while the girl was out fetching water, Evelyn took her own life. She was poisoned, and the reason the poison took effect was because before her death, she had eaten several already rotten chickens that had been poisoned by daffodil toxin. Evelyn said she'd rather die than starve to death. 12. This was simply too surreal. Had the girl not told me every word herself, I wouldn't have dare believe my own ears. Could such people truly exist in this world? Calming myself, I tentatively asked, then what do you plan to do next? The girl let out a sigh. It's fine. My neighbor is decent and well off, though this matter had nothing to do with them. They said that after all, it was their narcissus that grew beyond their property, which my mother picked up, seeing that I didn't make trouble or file a lawsuit. They gave me 50,000 yuan as humanitarian compensation. 50,000, 3 lives worth, just 50,000 yuan. I couldn't help but feel a pang of sorrow. The girl said she had taken a leave of absence from school due to family reasons, but now had to return to continue her studies. With good luck, she might pursue a postdoctoral degree. With bad luck, she'd start job hunting after graduation. I nodded, offered a few perfunctory words of comfort, and then fell silent. Later, I glimpsed her life through her social media posts. I had no real connection with her, just like many other acquaintances I met by chance and added as contacts, yet I witnessed her journey, pursuing a postdoc, falling in love, getting married, having children. Later on, our friendship never progressed beyond that point. Even our chat history remained frozen on the day she told me about Evelyn's death. A girl destined for such soaring success shouldn't be shackled by such burdensome family ties. Perhaps her family's demise might not be such a bad thing for her after all. After all, having a father who a burden, a foolish older brother, and an ignorant mother, none of these sound respectable, and they would only hold her back if her family hadn't all but died out. How could she ever pursue her dream of earning a doctorate? In a later midnight reverie, I couldn't help but think of something even more terrifying. Could it be that the deaths of the other 3 were all inextricably linked to the girl? After all, their deaths were only known through her account alone. But soon I shook my head again. What difference does it make to know the ending? After all, it's someone else's family affair. All I need to do is take good care of myself. The end.